Good morning. Good morning. Different background today. I know. I am reporting live from my bedroom. One, because I didn't feel like moving, and two, because I can. I had all of my equipment set up here, and then I didn't feel like moving it. So this what you got. We're gonna push through it. Good morning, Kiki. I am feeling better. But I don't want to be as loud, which is why I have this mic. Good morning. Is that Quizzical Girl? What happened? Did you have to change your name? Did somebody steal your name, Quizzical Girl? Um, so here we are. I have missed you. I have so much. I have much, so much to talk about. I have notes. I have pages and pages of notes, and we got to do 2 days. So we're gonna be here for a minute. Good morning, other people's drama. We're gonna be here for a minute. Yes, I'm in my room. Yes, it's because I'm lazy. But does it matter? The information is gonna get to you. Either way. YouTube is changing usernames. I see that. Numbers with all those numbers behind your name. What's going on? Why? Is it giving Oprah? I think I'm gonna run on. You have to be a person of a certain age to get that reference. I think I'm gonna run on. Okay, let's get into it if we're gonna get into it, honey. Brainwash started yesterday. Um, y'all know on my last Wednesday night live, I was very interested in what his defense was going to be. Because after he pled to getting rid of her body, then that means that there was a death. And I was saying, well, he's not pleading to the murder, so he's going to say that something else happened. And then the prosecution does their opening. It's pretty good, it's pretty succinct. And then here comes the defense, and I'm on pins and needles, you guys, because what is he going to say happened? They made a choice. And apparently, the choice was that she spontaneously combusted. And I said, that's a choice. That's that's a choice because excuse me, say what? That's what you're going with? Y'all had months and months and years. She just woke up dead. Okay, flesh this out a little bit. Let's flesh this out. That doesn't make any sense, sir. And you know what? Props to this defense team because they're doing what they have to do with what they got, which is very little. They are doing everything they can with the very little that they have. And then I'm listening to the defense opening, and there it's very clear that he's going to testify. That is not even an option anymore. And I knew that very early on in the defense opening when they were saying, you're going to get evidence that she died spontaneously. And the only evidence of that, since we have no body, the only evidence of that is his testimony, because testimony is evidence. And you've already told us, your lawyer, the prosecutors, have already told us that you're a liar. Why is that the option? It doesn't make sense, but I'm interested. I am sad. You have told us you're a liar. Your lawyer has told us you're a liar. The prosecutor has told us you're a liar. And then your lawyer says, but he's going to get up and tell you that she just spontaneously, out of nowhere, got into bed and croaked. No one believes you. And you know what is more interesting about this whole thing? Why this case is interesting to me? Because it's not very interesting, if we're being honest. It's a man who killed his wife, obviously. It's always interesting to me, though, when they go to trial, when you very obviously killed your wife. It's very interesting to me when they want to testify, when you have very obviously killed your wife. That sort of narcissism is something that has always been fascinating to me. You haven't missed much, Kim. We just getting started. That sort of narcissism has always been fascinating to me. And I have always said that if I did not go to law school, I would be some sort of psychologist, psychiatrist, some sort of therapist, because that sort of brain is very interesting to me. Numbers, by the way, I looked for your phone number and I don't know that I have it. And I was trying to text you and tell you happy Thanksgiving and I didn't have your number. So could you please get that to me because I want to have it. Not numbers. I mean it's not you. Not you numbers. It's Jen. But I don't see Jen here yet. Um when she gets here I'll let her know. Um it's not you numbers. I text you. Anywho, that sort of narcissism is very fascinating to me. It, like, makes me I don't know. I just ha because it's foreign to me, because this is gonna I'm gonna bring in a Sister Wives reference, and the people who don't watch Sister Wives is not gonna get it, but he's a very Cody-esque, where it's like, "Sir, can you not read the room? Or are you reading the room and you're so narcissistic that you think all these people love you and believe you, and you're gonna get on the stand and you're gonna be so charming that everybody's going to believe that this woman mysteriously died. And instead of you calling the police, and instead of you searching, why would a person die? What would happen if a person died? What should I do if a person's not breathing? You're searching how to get rid of a body after murder. And somehow you think that we're going to believe you when you get on the stand and tell us what I don't know. But I don't know. It's just a very fascinating to me. So, let me see. Let me see. Let's go to the notes. The first after we get it, they call it sudden unexplained death. Okay. Okay. If that's all right. If that's what you're gonna go with. Okay. I mean, what else could you go with? But there's so much more. Like Number said, meds, alcohol, heart attack, overdose. You had so many more things that you could have done and said. Sudden, unexplained death, and your searches are not what would cause someone to die. My wife isn't waking up. What do I do? Should I call the EMS? Your searches are how to get rid of a body, And not only just how to get rid of a body, how to get rid of a body after murder. Okay, and then we have our first witness, which is a detective, Harrison Smith. And here, listen, I know, I know this has nothing to do with the Karen Reed case, but besides some of the overlapping detectives. But every time we watch a case that is not Karen Reed, and we see how thorough that their investigation is, doesn't it make you call back? And doesn't it make you go, see, this is how I know that there's something icky going on over there with Karen Reed? Because this was just a missing person. It's just a missing person on a wife that y'all know is cheating. And y'all went in that man's house and looked around and took pictures almost immediately. Y'all came back that same night and emptied the pool. Floodlights. In the winter. It's still winter. It's January. So you do know how to investigate in the cold. You went through his house and took pictures of everything. And this is just a missing person. This woman could have walked through the door the next 5 minutes. You don't know. She could have came back and said, you know what, I was gonna leave your ass, but I decided not to. And in that same day, that first interview you have with him, you walk through the house and you take pictures. Not only that, you record every time you talk to him. You record every conversation you have with this man. Doesn't it make you go, this is how I know. This is how I know for a fact that whatever y'all was doing in the Kieran Reed case was done maliciously and on purpose. Because you know how to investigate a crime. You know how to record the interviews. You know how to walk through the house and take a picture. You know how to take a picture of the truck before you load it on to the flatbed. Okay. I'm gonna get off here and read. But every time I see it, specifically in Massachusetts, you know how to investigate a crime. So what happened? Where was the disconnect when a fellow officer was found in the snow? We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. We're not gonna spend that much time on Karen Reed, but just the contrast of this investigation just stood out to me in bold letters and made me think it's something going on over there. At first, it was just a conspiracy theory that all these people were lying and all these people were covering up. But now I'm sure because we know that you know how to investigate. But anyway, so we got the first detective, and we're listening. Most of his testimony is the interviews they had with Brian Walsh. And I think most people were like, well, why are we listening to them? We know he lied. Exactly other people's drama. He's just answering questions one way or the other. This is the information. Do with it what you will. The contrast is crazy. Anywho, most of his testimony is us listening to Brian Walsh's interviews, and I saw a lot of people saying, like, what is the point? We know they're lies. Why do we have to listen to them? He's already pled guilty to lying to the police. I'll tell you why. Why? I'll tell you why. Number one, consciousness of guilt. But number two, it is very important for the jury to, because we now that we know he's going to testify, I think it's very important for the prosecution to show how easily he lies, how calmly he lies, how cool, calm, and collected he is talking to these police officers when he knows, even if they don't know, he knows that he has recently chopped up his wife's body, put her in somebody's trash can, and he is just a chit chatting. I mean, chatting shit. This man would not stop talking and just a giggling, talking about his mama and and her life and the Soviet Union or whatever the fuck. I mean, chatting shit calmly, coolly, no sweat off his brow many, many times when he knows at this time that his wife is dead. 1 second. I'm getting a phone call. I hate when people call me when they can text me. There's nothing you need to say to me that can't be a text message. Anywho, that's why they're letting them listen to these long, drawn out interviews of lies because they need to know when he gets on the stand and he's cool, calm, and collected, or, or worse, or worse, if he gets on the stand and shows any emotion. You need to know that it's all fake. You need to know that it's all lies because we didn't know, but he knew that his wife was chopped up in little pieces and he's giggling. Now, all of a sudden, after he's on trial for her murder, does he have any emotion? He's a liar. Very, very interesting. And I know. And I went back and listened to those interviews, even though I know most of it was lies. But they were very interesting to me. It was what he said and what he didn't say. Also, how much do you think he got the bubble guts when that little boy brought his wife's glasses over? It was in one of the first interviews, if you guys wanna go back and listen, where he's talking. I think it was the very first one we hear. He's talking to him at the kitchen table when you hear the kids in the background and those poor babies who were just in the background, just a playing and cussing. Those poor babies who are just in the background playing and cussing, who have no idea that their mother is missing. It's the saddest thing in the world. It's the saddest thing in the world. But was Brian Walsh about to shit a brick when the little kid brought over the glasses? See, it always be your goddamn kids. It is always your goddamn kids. Never fails. If I forget to scan something, if I am in self checkout and I forget to scan something, it never fails. That Brittany will be like, "Mom, you forgot to scan this." Shut up. Shut up. You know what I miss? You know what I miss about not having little children is being able to run to the store. Do you know how you can never run to the store when you have little kids? You got to put their shoes on the wrong feet. They need a coat. They can't find their hat. I miss being able to run to the store, but I digress. Do you know he was about to shit a brick when he's like, "Here's mom's glasses." And I don't know if they were sunglasses or what, but he must have felt like she would not have left without these glasses. And here come this little boy bringing me these glasses. It's always your goddamn kids. It's always your goddamn kids. Um, and then we get to day 2, and we listen to more of him chatting shit. Just a chat, just a chatty Cathy. And that is why you need to hear those because he's gonna get on the stand and he's gonna have a whole new story. And you know, as soon as he gets to, "I woke up and she was just, she wasn't breathing." And then, and I just, "Shut up. We're not gonna believe you." But the audacity of it is what's fascinating to me. So we get to day 2 and we get to cross. And listen, listen. The defense is doing what it needs to do. I'm not mad at them. They ain't got much. They ain't got much. But what they got, they making it work. They're making it work. When the cross came and I think that's the first time we find out, or you guys might know because you follow this case more than me, but this is the first time we find out that the searches were not done on the son's iPad. And I think that's an important distinction for the defense to make, right? Because when they are asking him questions in the interview, because at this point they don't know, they just searched the iPad and found the searches. By the way, speaking of son's iPad, Brian handed that over, no problem. They said, here's my son's iPad. You know it was because he did not realize that the searches were synced. When they got in that interview and they asked him, "Did you search this on your son's iPad?" He was like, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" You know he was. If you could be inside his brain, listen. When I get nervous, this part of my forehead right here starts to get very hot, and my ears start to get hot, and my lips starts to sweat. I think that's what Brian was going through because he handed over that iPad with no problem because he did not realize that his searches were syncing. He did not realize that if you are logged into your Apple ID, that is the point of Apple, right? That is the point of you having all your Apple products hooked together so you can seamlessly move between all of the products. He did not realize that those searches were syncing. So he was telling the truth in that interview. Like, no, I didn't. Didn't search on my son's iPad. But I know he was shitting a brick wondering how the fuck do they know about those searches? How do they know about those searches? I could have sworn I deleted that shit. Oh, to be a fly on the wall. But anyway, I think it was a good point for the defense to clarify because it makes him look like a monster. I mean, he's a monster. But how much more of a monster does he look like if we know he goes to his son's room, uses his child iPad to search up how to cut up his wife's body? He looks like a terrible person. So it's a good point for the defense to bring out, and it makes listen, they don't got much. So whatever they got to make this kind of look like a faulty investigation or look like they didn't know what they were doing even a little bit, they got to call it out. They have to call it out. Um, I was very confused on where we were going with the Facebook Messenger versus iMessage conversation. I didn't understand what the defense was trying to do. I was just getting annoyed because what are you talking about? Also, side note, or back up a little bit, why? What did Brian Walsh say he do? Didn't he say he does some sort of consulting for high net individuals with tech radar or cybersecurity or something the fuck? Whatever the fuck. Why is he acting like why does he think it's a good idea to act like, oh, I don't know how to use the Googles. Oh, I don't know how to use that Uber, that old thing. Why are you who are you fooling? Who are you fooling? Either you're a fraud in your work or you're a fraud now. And we know you're a fraud now because you've already been convicted of fraud. But why does he think it's a good idea to be like, oh, I don't know. I don't know how any of that works. I'll tell you why. Because he knows what he was searching. He knows what he was searching. By the way, by the way, we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it with Gorino. We're gonna get to it with Greeno. But overall, I say again, the contrast between this detective and the detectives in the Kieran Reed case are loud, flashing, and astonishing. This is how a detective should testify. Yes, no, maybe fucking so. I don't know. This is just what I found. This is where I found it. This is where my investigation led. Do with that information what you will. I'm not upset that you're asking me these questions. If I don't know the answer to that, I don't know the answer to that. That is how you answer a question. Well, I don't feel any ways tied to the police officers that I've seen so far. We haven't gotten to Carino. The officer detective that we saw at first, I'm like, I believe him. I believe every word. I believe he did his investigation the best way he knows how. And I believe him. He doesn't seem stuck up. He doesn't seem like he's hiding anything. He doesn't seem like he's trying to correct anything. Here's what I got. Do with it what you will. And then we get to Gorino, Mr. Hot Mike just killed me, Gorino. Let me tell you something about Gorino. He makes my ass itch. You can tell, you can tell. Hi, Helena. You can tell that Gorino does not want this job. It seems like whatever injury he had on the job, it seems like this is the only job he can do. And so they're like, we got to make him do something. So go take a couple certification classes, learn how to use a cell bright, and we're going to put you in cybersecurity. But he doesn't understand his job at all. And so it was very annoying to me the way that this attorney presented this information. It was very drawn out. It was very boring. It was very slow. And what time was that? And where did it go? And what was the title? And what is that date and time? That this is some of the most interesting, this is some of the most interesting testimony, and we're getting it in the least interesting way. And it is because this attorney does not trust Gorino to answer the questions correctly. So she has to walk him through the shit like a toddler. He she has to make the jury believe him as a tech expert because he is not that. And so she's asking him shit like, what's a search engine? What's an iMessage? Which he got wrong, by the way. Which he got wrong, by the way. And any juror up there with an iPhone, which, let's be honest, it's probably all of them, know that he got it wrong. And it's like, this is your tech expert? Even remember what the fuck he said. But he said something like, um, it's it's iPhone to iPhone. That's not what it is. That's only half of it. Because you can absolutely send a green message to an iPhone. You can absolutely send a green message to an iPhone. iMessage are messages from iPhone to iPhone sent over the internet and not over the cell network. And that is how a tech expert should have answered that question. But Corino is not a tech expert. He is somebody who hurt himself at work and they sat him at a desk and said, here, you can do this. And he sucks at it. And because he sucks at it, we had to get the most interesting information in the most mundane, uninteresting way. And I was very upset about that because I don't like how she was asking him the questions, but I think she had to ask the questions that way because he's an idiot. Mr. Kill Me Gorina. Because why are you asking and what's the title of that? It feels like the question should have been, what time was this search? And when was the next one? And what was the title of that search? And what did he search? And what did he click on in that search? How long did he stay on that page? That is how you should ask those questions. I just know he searched a bunch of stuff, but I don't know what he looked at. I'm not sure of the times. I hope the jury has a better note taking ability, or I'm sure they'll get a printout of it all. But the way they delivered that information was just terrible. But best way to dispose of body parts after murder. That is going to be, I am very interested to see how the defense is going to reconcile that with their spontaneous combustion, with their spontaneous combustion defense. How do you reconcile? And I think they started to. I think um they started to because we're on Cross of Garino right now. And they started to when he asked him I think he was trying to say that if I just ask how to get he was trying to insinuate that if Brian Walsh just simply typed how to get rid of a body, they would give him information about cremation services or call EMS or blah, blah, blah. So he had to enter something nefarious because he was trying to get rid of the body illegally. Okay. Okay. Eh, Right. Okay. Okay. If that's what you're going with. Because they had to. They had to combat the murder after everything. But how do you defend against going to a website called murder.com? Secondly, why is there a website called murder.com? We're gonna have to review some things amongst the population, and a couple of them are gonna be some of these websites. Because excuse me, say what? Excuse me, say what? You said the website was called what? Okay. Okay. Then we ended day 2 talking about talking about the porn hub searches. Listen, Gorino, you make a fool all those people, but you ain't fooling me. You at home on leave from work, and you want me to believe that you ain't scurried on over there to the hub? I don't believe you. You need more people. And this is why Gorino is of the Morrissey crew, is of the crew that you can't believe the things they're saying. First of all, that's a dumb thing to lie about. That's a dumb thing to lie about. Hi, Jen. I'm happy you're here. I need your number. I tried to text you for Thanksgiving and then I realized I didn't have your number and it made me really sad. So give me your number. Email me your number. Um, and your address because I have to send you guys your Christmas gifts. It's exactly numbers. It's his job to investigate. And then it makes you look crazy And again, the defense has to use what they got, right? And it's a really good point. It sounds mundane, and it could sound like, why are they talking about Pornhub? But it's a point, right? Because they're saying the Pornhub searches were like what, on the 27th or something, or the 22nd, right? They were on the 22nd. Let me see. Let me look at my notes. The search was on, I feel like the 22nd, but it was about the 27th. Okay. But the search was about my cheating wife, or my wife seduces somebody, da 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 da. And it's a good point for the defense to say, why is that even in evidence? Why is that a point to make? Is it because you know that the wife was cheating? So did you go look at that video? No, I really don't know how it works. What do you mean you don't know how it works? What do you mean you don't know how it works? Didn't you just say you were in cyber crimes, and on top of cyber crimes you said you were in the special victims unit and you don't know how the hub works? You're a liar. You're a liar. What do you mean? What do you mean? You should. Do you know how many special victims might end up on the hub? But they are of the special subset of detectives over there who try to deny what looks bad instead of just saying, this is my evidence. No, I didn't look at that. I didn't think it was important at the time. I just pulled down the searches and this is what I did. They feel like if they admit anything bad, it's going to crumble the whole case. When in actuality, what's going to crumble the case is if you look like a liar. Is if you look like a liar. You absolutely know how to work the hub. You at home on work leave. That's all you doing. That's all you're doing. And it looks like you made it a point not to search that, but you searched up the serial killer, the trash bag killer, whoever that was. So you went to the Wikipedia to see who that was, but you didn't go to the hub to see exactly what video this was. Interesting. Interesting. Gorino is an idiot, and he should not be their tech expert. But they keep using him after he missed all the searches in the Birchmore case. He should have been reassigned to evidence. I don't fucking know. But he should not be anybody's tech expert. He's an idiot. And he's not even a good one. He's not even a good one. Um, I'm very interested. I kind of just want to fast forward, you guys, if I'm being honest. I really don't care what anybody else has to say. I want to know what Brian has to say. I really don't care what anyone else has to say. We know he searched it. First of all, mm, I don't know how to answer this. I don't know how to ask this question because I don't believe Brian Walshe at all. I don't believe him at all. But is there something to, maybe he didn't intentionally kill her? Is there anybody that believes that? I think he killed her, and I think he cut her up, and I think he got rid of her. But I'm getting something in my spirit is giving me he didn't mean to. And I don't know, I may be giving them a little bit too much credit. But looking at the evidence that we have so far, the searches do feel frantic and all of a sudden. The divorce searches don't. And so it makes me feel like he started to talk about divorce. They got into a fight and something happened. The searches do seem frantic. And he's got to be quite literally the dumbest criminal. He might as well have walked around with the t-shirt that said, I murdered my wife, and a big, bright, bulging light bulb sign that says, it was me, it was me, it was me, it was me, it was me. Because there was not a search you did not make. We should stop looking at the searches he did make, and we should move on to the searches that he didn't make. That would be a shorter list. The shorter list would be, what searches didn't he make? And they were all of a sudden. They were all of a sudden. I think if you plan to kill her, he could be just that dumb. TXN. I'm not saying he ain't just that dumb. He could be just that dumb. But they do seem very all of a sudden. And if he was planning to kill her, I feel like these searches don't happen all of a sudden right after she's dead. I think he's dumb enough to still do the searches, but do they happen a week before? Maybe 2 weeks before? But then, wait a minute, let me find this comment. What leads me the other way, let me find this comment. Where did it go? This comment right here. This what leads me the other way. This is what leads me to, it was planned. This is what lead me to, it was planned. Because if he killed her on the first, to have not a single trace, not a single trace of her, feels like it feels very Dexter-esque. It feels very laid out the plastic. It feels very, put saran wrap on everything and rolled her up real good and made sure that there was not a bud, a hair. It feels very Dexter-esque. But then again, he had 4 days to clean up. So maybe so. But to see nothing anywhere, that feels very planned. That feels very planned. But the searches feel very immediate. The searches feel very frantic. And for whatever reason, whatever condition her body was in, he couldn't call the EMS and say, she fell. We were drinking and she fell. He, we were arguing and I turned around I turned around and she fell backwards. Because it feels like in any other circumstance, this is what I'm saying, quizzical girl. This is why I go between whether it was very frantic and all of a sudden and whether he planned it. Because very frantic all of a sudden, pushed her down, hit her head, something like that. You can explain that away. You can explain that away after you call the EMS. We were fighting. I turned around really quickly. She stumbled. We were drinking. It was New Year's Eve. We were drunk. She stumbled, hit her head, and now she's not responding. It feels like whatever he did to her body, it was going to prove that this was an intentional, thought out homicide. And y'all can't see what I did to her. What if it was both? That is very true, Helena. That is very true. I don't know though, because I just feel like you do at least one if you're planning it because he searched everything. He searched everything all at once. He searched everything, all the searches. How to hide a body, how to cut up a body. Can I use the credit card? Where do I put the body? Can I divorce it? What happens if she's missing? What about the will? He searched everything all at once. And I just feel like if there was even an inkling of a plan, at least the search of how long what was the search? How long missing before death? I guess what he was trying to say is like how long before someone is missing will they declare them dead? Like at least that. Or um I feel like there would be something like an undetectable murder. You know, like I feel like if it was that plan, there would be something else in the searches. The fact that it was very frantically how to get rid of a body means something was wrong with that body that was absolutely going to prove that this was intentional and not an accident. But maybe it was planned to go one way and then she began to fight, you know? And he has that cut on his finger. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know. But what I'm saying is there was a better there was something better than she just spontaneously died and so I decided to cut her up. That makes no sense. That makes no sense because if she spontaneously died, an autopsy would prove that. I don't give a shit what people would believe. Basically, what he's saying is trying to say is that, everybody always believes that the husband did something. So he was very scared. He was already about to go to jail and he didn't want anybody to believe that it was him. So he cut up the body. That makes no sense. That makes no sense because a simple autopsy would prove that it wasn't you. That makes no sense. The fact that you didn't want her body seen, exactly, TXN. It was something he couldn't blame on a suicide, something he could blame on an accident, and something he couldn't blame as even spontaneous. I don't know. Very interesting. So, say all that to say, I really don't care what anybody else has to say. I genuinely do not care. I don't care that you were there the night before. I don't care about any more searches. I want to hear what he's going to say. I want to hear it. There's not much else that matters, right? Right? Like, what else does the prosecution need to prove, you think? The searches, the lying, and then listening him tell his story is pretty much it. What else do you need? I don't care what anybody else has to say. I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna be here to report it to you guys. But I don't care. but I don't care. I think a lesser included is gonna be based on if a juror somehow, some way believes whatever Brian Walsh is gonna say. Nobody believes that she just died and you cut her up. Nobody believes that. No one. Zip, zero. Stingy with De Niro. Nobody believes that. So it's going to be based on if one of the jurors believe something else, something happened, but they don't believe he did it on purpose. And that's going to be all based on what he says. Oh, he definitely talks too much, Helena. And this is the thing. This is why it's so fascinating. I know I'm gonna get out of here because I gotta go work, but this is why he's so fascinating to me. And people like him are so fascinating to me because do you think you're that charming? Do you think you're that convincing? Do you think you're that much smarter than everybody in this room that you're gonna convince someone that this woman mysteriously died and your thought was, "Well, gotta cut her up." And that is what made sense to you. That's what made sense to you. Gotta cut her up. Not call EMS, not call my mom, who I seem to not be able to move without. I do want to hear from her. Okay, that's another person I want to hear from. I want to hear from his mama because he loves talking about his mama. Mama's boy, okay? The mama's boying of it all. I want to hear from his mama. But do you really think but narcissism is it's so fascinating to me. It's so fascinating to me that I just like watching it. I hate when I have to deal with a narcissist, but I love watching it from afar. It's just interesting to me. You really believe you're that good? You really believe that people just believe what you say? You really are in love with yourself that much? I cannot wait. Yeah, like there's a lot going on, Helena. There's audacity because you know Massachusetts is full of it. Full of it. If they ain't got nothing else, they got audacity. And you know what else they got? Those are some punctual people. Let me tell you something. They are always wondering how long before something happens. They are always wanting to know how long. How long before this? How long before that? How long die in the snow? They are on time. Okay. They have audacity and watches. Okay. Clocks are on time around there. They need to know how much time I got. Any hootie. We're gonna get out of here. I gotta go to work. And I think the trial has started. So we got some time and I like time to be able to fast forward through the break. So this is perfect for me. This is perfect for me to be able to start the trial right now. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you take care of yourselves. I hope you take care of each other. Make sure you like and subscribe. Team Wicked Smart, hi. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube things that I forget to say every video, but I'm getting better. And I will see you all tomorrow. Um, I think there's going to be a lot of filler witnesses today. I think after we get done with Guarino, I think he said yesterday we're coming the the Uber records person and the United records person and some more mundane witnesses, but we're still gonna talk about it tomorrow because you never know, we might get some interesting info. We might get some interesting info. I appreciate you for joining me. I'm sorry that I was not here yesterday, but I'm feeling better and we will be back tomorrow. The records people, yes, that's who's coming today. Um, and you know what? I don't care. You need to change your name back too. What is going on? What is going on? Why is YouTube changing names? I've never heard of that. That's very odd. That's very strange to me. Hmm. Okay. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care of yourselves and each other. Bye. Bye, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.